You ever wonder if a single phone call could actually shake a superpower? Well, today we're digging into a viral claim that says India's top diplomat did just that. We're talking about one 40-minute conversation that, according to some, completely rewrote the rules of global trade with the White House. And get this, the conversation allegedly kicked off with that bombshell of a line. According to the source we're examining, this wasn't some polite back and forth. Nope, it was a blunt, straight-to-the-point declaration of independence, and it signaled a huge shift in the power dynamic. Now, the story we're breaking down today comes from a pretty popular video by Prem Talks, and it paints this phone call as a really pivotal moment. You know, a clash between a superpower that's used to getting its way and a rising power that was ready to say, not anymore. All right, so how did this whole thing supposedly play out? We're going to look at the call that started it all, the policy that sparked the whole conflict, the hard data that was used to just dismantle it, and what it all means for the future balance of power. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, let's start with the main event itself. The source we're looking at claims India's top diplomat, Jaishankar, made a call to a key U.S. official, who they identify as Marco Rubio. And he had one single goal: deliver a message that was absolutely unmistakable. And this wasn't just some routine checking call. The narrative suggests it was a totally calculated move. The points made were apparently so sharp, so undeniable, that the message just shot straight to the top, right to U.S. lawmakers. And it sparked a huge question. Was their own government's policy actually hurting America? So, you might be asking, what would prompt such a bold move? Well, the source points the finger directly at the Trump administration's policy toward India, which it basically describes as, well, wildly unpredictable. The real heart of the problem, as the video presents it, was this massive contradiction. I mean, on one hand, you have all this public praise, India's great, Modi is my friend. But on the other hand, the threat of crippling 500% tariffs. This double standard, as the source calls it, made a real partnership pretty much impossible. To try and explain this mindset, the source uses this really striking cinematic analogy. It compares the approach to a mafia don from the movie The Untouchables. You know, someone who believes they're so powerful that the normal rules of trade and diplomacy just don't apply to them. So, how in the world did India respond to all this pressure? Well, according to the source, it wasn't with counter threats. No, it was with something way more powerful: a flood of cold, hard data. The story goes that Jaishankar came prepared with an arsenal of statistics, an arsenal so powerful that it left the other side in, and I quote, pin-drop silence. The data was allegedly so precise and so overwhelming that there was simply no comeback, nothing to argue against. The rebuttal supposedly started right here, with this number. He pointed to Microsoft's planned investment, a massive $20 billion, going right into India's growing tech infrastructure. And he didn't stop there. Next up, he allegedly brought up Amazon's commitment, a colossal $35 billion. That's a huge bet by one of America's biggest companies on the future of the Indian market. And then, just to really drive the point home, Samsung's $15 billion investment was also cited. This showed that, look, this wasn't just an American trend. It was a global one. The world's biggest companies were all pouring billions into India. And this was the knockout punch of the argument. The narrative says Jaishankar exposed this massive disconnect. You have the U.S. government over here talking about punishment and tariffs, while America's own biggest companies are over there voting with their wallets, betting billions on India as a vital partner for the future. Now, this data wasn't just about showing off some big numbers. The source claims it was all used to frame a very clear, very critical choice for the United States. And according to the source, this choice was laid out in incredibly blunt terms. U.S. lawmakers were essentially asked to look at the return on their alliances. On one side, you have a partnership with India, which delivers investment and growth. On the other, a partnership with Pakistan, which the source directly links to instability. The question was simple, really. Which path makes more sense for America? And the consequences for choosing the wrong path? Well, they were laid out just as clearly. The source claims Jaishankar warned that it would directly harm the American people. We're talking empty supermarket shelves, runaway inflation, and a total collapse in global partnerships and investment into the U.S. So ultimately, the source frames this as something much, much bigger than just a single trade dispute. It's presented as a defining moment, a real sign of a new global reality that's taking shape right before our eyes.
According to the video, the real underlying message was a lesson in 21st century geopolitics. And the lesson was this: the unipolar moment is over. We are now in a multipolar world. A world where major powers like India act on their own terms, not as subordinates just taking orders.
So, the way the source presents it, the final message wasn't a threat. It was actually constructive advice, a clear four-step path for how America can succeed in this new reality. Respect sovereignty, listen to your own business leaders, drop the intimidation tactics, and just engage. And that brings us to the final, really powerful takeaway from our source material. The video doesn't frame this as just some event in the past. It frames it as an ongoing choice for a global superpower. Stick with an old model of coercion or adapt to a new world of partnership. It's a question that remains just as relevant today as it was then.